Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Hootie and the Blowfish lead guitarist Mark Bryan rocks the Weinberg Center in Frederick, Maryland on Saturday night with the Screaming Trojans, a mix of his buddies from Seneca Valley and Gaithersburg high schools. We spoke about him growing up in Maryland before meeting Darius Rucker at the University of South Carolina to form Hootie and the Blowfish with hits like Hold My Hand, Let Her Cry, Time, and Only Wanna Be With You. Hey, Mark Bryan. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, we're talking because you're coming to the Weinberg Center along with the Screaming Trojans. Everyone's going to know you from the lead guitarist from Hootie and the Blowfish, but this Weinberg show is cool because it's the Screaming Trojans, which I know is a bit of a local shout out to two local high schools, right?
Yeah, I'm a Seneca Valley Screaming Eagle, and then a couple of my best buddies are Gaithersburg Trojans. So we mixed the two mascot names to come up with that band name and play shows around the area, and it's been a blast. We've been doing it the last decade or so, and a bunch of our friends from growing up show up, and it's really cool to be able to play with guys who I grew up with, that are still really talented musicians, and it's been a blast.
Awesome. So wait, so you were born in Silver Spring, but then you went to high school at Seneca. That's what you're saying. So did you move to Germantown after that, or?
We lived in Bethesda for a little while, and then Montgomery Village, and I went to high school at Seneca, and then went to college at University of South Carolina.
Gotcha. Now I want to talk some high school shop with you really quick before we get into the concerts. Was Seneca, was that the Al Thomas days? Was he the head coach back then, football?
It was. Yeah. I played JV. I did not play varsity under Al, but I played JV while he was varsity coach, and played basketball under Coach Doan. And those were those years. Solid athletics at Seneca Valley during that time.
Oh my God, legendary. No, so the only reason I know that is because my grandmother taught at Damascus High School for years, and that's where Al Thomas left Seneca and went and coached and won some state titles at Damascus after when I was growing up. We went to watch those games. But personally, I have a bone to pick with you because Seneca beat my senior year at Linganore High School up in Frederick County. They beat us at the state championship at Raven Stadium. So come on, Screaming Eagles. I'm a little mad at the Screaming Eagles.
As if we didn't already have enough state championships under our belt probably at the time.
I have no idea what it's up to now. It's ridiculous.
He really did. He racked up quite a series of championships, and it's really cool. Like I see some of the T-shirts sometimes when people walk around, like, wow, they won a lot of state championships, and that's impressive. And yeah, he had a good run, and everyone speaks highly of him that played for him. He was a great coach.
Yeah, I think, and then after that, I think it was like Changuris, I think. But
Changuris,
anyway, by the time I was there,
who was also one of my JV coaches.
Wow, see, that's why I had to throw out. I had to name drop.
He was my JV. Changuris was my JV quarterbacks coach at Seneca Valley. Also a great guy.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And by the time we were there, his son was playing for him against us. So yeah. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, man. Cool. So yeah, the local ties run deep here, but that's cool. Well, the football thing is one thing, but their biggest legacy is you. You went on to such great success.
I don't know if I'd look at it like that, but no, myself and Dean Felber, who also our bass player for Hootie, who's also was a Screaming Eagle. We were in high school. It's so funny because we were in a high school band with a couple of guys from Gaithersburg at the time, and our band was called Missing in Action, or MIA, and we would play all the high school parties back in the day, and then it's just so funny all these years later to still be in a mixed Seneca Gaithersburg band. It's just how it was supposed to be, I guess.
That's awesome. So obviously,
and the reason that is, and I think I should point this out for anyone who's from the area, they can understand, is at the time, Montgomery Village Avenue was a borderline that split whether or not you went to Seneca or Gaithersburg, depending on which side of Montgomery Village Avenue you lived on. And so a lot of our friends from junior high, we were best friends, but we all ended up going to two different schools. So I think that there was something about that brought those two schools together,
I feel that, man. Did you have up here? It was the same thing. It was Linganore and Urbana, and we played for the I-70 trophy. They took the sign off the road and put it on a trophy. Did you guys have anything with that? Did you take the road sign of Montgomery Village?
No, there were definitely some mascot things that happened, and then there were always these like fights at the McDonald's in Gaithersburg Square.
That's great. Well, we can't really joke about it because there's actually been an alarming number of fights this year up this way. I don't wait. Where are you? Where are we talking to you? Where's this?
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. I've lived here for 20 some years now.
Okay, well let's let's tie it all together for our listeners who are like, why are they talking about high school football? So you went, so obviously you like, like you're saying, you've come full circle and you're playing with the band members, from the high school with Gaithersburg and
Yeah.
Saxon.
So Dean and I, Dean and I played together in a high school band, Missing in Action, and both ended up coincidentally choosing University of South Carolina for college. Mm-hmm. And we got down there and they put us on 2 different dorm halls in the same building without us ever asking anything. Wow. And Darius lived on my hall. And then by sophomore year, Darius and Dean were roommates. So we all just became tight and started playing together right away. And we're still together.
And when he says the name Darius, we're of course talking about the legendary Darius Rucker, who's, doing his own thing in country now, but you guys still reunite with Hootie all the time. And I think I just saw you guys. What was it? Your last tour at Merriweather. It was awesome. It was so awesome. Yeah, you guys still bring it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Oh, that was a really great show. That was a special show for me, obviously. And thank you for being there. Yeah, that means a lot.
Oh, absolutely. So do you guys play the, at this Weinberg Center show up here in Frederick, Maryland? Do you guys play any of the Hootie stuff, or is it more like, your midlife priceless?
It's a mix. I'll do probably 5 to 7 Hootie songs that the Screaming Trojans know. I mean, just the other day, the guy set me up and had an idea of why don't we do this one this way, So we're definitely doing some Hootie in the show. I would say, a third of the set would be Hootie stuff that I've either co-written or written or whatever. And then some of the hits and stuff. And then a lot, and then we'll do some of the songs from my recent record, Midlife Priceless. And then we do a series of covers, because here's the beautiful thing about Screaming Trojans. When we were coming up playing all these songs, our drummer, Ricky Slezak, could always play Rush and Zeppelin and Police and all the best drummers and everything.
Sure.
But we never could sing. We never, it was hard to play that stuff at parties because nobody could sing like that high. Those songs they're tenor vocals.
Oh my God, yeah.
And so we just never had a singer that could pull it off until Scott Tucker. And that's when the Screaming Trojans began. And so Scott Tucker not only sings harmony with me on the Hootie and Hootie stuff and my solo stuff, but he can sing Zeppelin, Police, Rush. So we're doing all of these songs from our childhood that we could never do live back then. We can only do them in our basement. Now we're doing them live. And so it's just kind of this like teenage garage rock fun thing but it's really good. I mean, it's a really good band. Ricky's an amazing drummer. I mean, he's world class. Lip is the bass player, and he's one of my best friends of all time. And he went from playing keyboard and Missing in Action in high school to becoming a really good bass player and a guitar player. He's a jukebox of songs. Yeah. And then Kevin Heister, who's a local guy, lives in Buckystown over there. And and he plays around, and his son Michael Heister is opening the show, and they play around Frederick area, do a lot of pub shows around Maryland and stuff. And
if he's from Buckystown, he just heads right up 85, and he's at the Weinberg in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, he's either in Urbana or Buckystown. I can't remember which, but you can see Sugarloaf from his house, and he's right over there. So and so I mean, it's a very cool local show, and it's just gonna be so much fun.
Oh, the Weinberg. Have you played Weinberg Center before? It's a historic spot up here in Frederick.
I have not. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we wanted to do it right. We wanted to bring it, like we've been playing around the Maryland, DC area as much as we can, Virginia, for our fans from that area, but we keep making everybody where we're from drive over to Annapolis or Northern Virginia. And so I thought, well, why don't we do something where everybody lives, all those folks, and we landed at Weinberg Center, and I'm just thrilled. I'm honored to be able to play there. And even if we only fill the floor section, it'll still be a very fun, rocking evening. Successful. So that's what we're looking to do, is make sure that the people that want to see us are there and get to see a great show, and hopefully they spread the word to their friends and we pack the place out. So but either way, it's going to be an amazing night. We've added a rock school. I'm not sure the name, but we've added a rock school to the bill, so that's going to be fun, having some local kids play early, including Michael Heister, who's Kevin's son I was talking about, who is just super talented. So we'll showcase him that night too.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're gonna love it. It's one of those, like old, I believe it was like a movie palace back in like the 20s, and then
somebody told me that. Yeah.
They renovated it and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's going to be a fun spot. And Frederick, if you haven't been up here in a while, I know you're, Germantown area, Gaithersburg, but the restaurant scene, and it's really coming back. I mean, post pandemic, it's, I guess, slowly starting to get back open, but yeah, it's really nice. You'll like it.
I was up there recently last year when we were rehearsing for our Ram's Head show, and I stayed in town, and noticed that. I noticed like all this new stuff going on, but then there's all the history and all the old buildings are still there. And it's just this, it reminded me of a lot of the sort of mid-size towns in the south through southeast in Frederick. Reminded me of that a little bit, where it's like kind of growing, a lot of people moving there, and it's getting this like kind of newer vibe, to a historic site. It's kind of cool. I've been seeing that happen a lot up and down the coast, and that's cool that it's happening in Frederick.
Definitely. Well, thanks for the segue. Speaking of the old stuff mixed with the new stuff, we've talked a lot about the new band. Let's have a little bit of time for some memories of the Hootie days. So I know you kind of alluded to it. You guys formed all as down the hall roommates and stuff, dorm mates at University of South Carolina. But take me into those early days before Cracked Rear View. Like, were you just we interviewed Darius a couple years ago, I believe. I'm trying to remember. He was saying you were just sort of selling tapes out of the back of vans and traveling up and down the coast. Or remind me of those early struggling days.
That's it, man. I mean, we kind of became known as Hootie and the Blowfish during our college years, and it was too late to change the name by the time we were seniors. So we just went with it.
Wait, where'd it come from though? What was the name? What was the name?
It was the nickname of two guys that were in this vocal group with Darius that was part of a university called Carolina Alive. And he nicknamed them. One of them looked like an owl, and one of them looked like Dizzy Gillespie with puffy cheeks. And he nicknamed them Hootie and Blowfish, and they walked into a party together, and there was your name. And at the time we never knew anything was come from us. So we were like, sure, that's fine. That name will be fine. And then we became known as that. And so we couldn't change it. And then everyone thought Darius was Hootie, and he didn't really want to be. He was like, nah, but then he finally just accepted it. And I guess he still explains, hey, I'm not really Hootie. Some people, still don't get it, and that's fine. It's worked out for us. It wouldn't have been my first choice as a name if back then, if you had asked me. If I'd known that all this was going to happen, but maybe it's part of why all this happened. So I can't say anything bad about our name, even though it wasn't my first choice.
So it was just a catchy name, but now you're if he's Hootie, you're one of the Blowfish, and it just happened that way. So it's
I guess so. I mean, him having the country career and the solo career as Darius Rucker, I think helps a lot. And I think there's a lot of people now who know Darius Rucker and don't even know about Hootie. So
hands down.
Yeah, so I think it'll all come full circle in the long run. And so anyway, we became known as Hootie and the Blowfish by senior year. And so we started getting gigs outside of Columbia. We had been playing Columbia for 3 years, all the bars, all the frats and everything. And we started getting gigs at other colleges and like playing Charleston and that kind of thing. And next thing we knew, it was growing quick. People, if 30 people came the first time, 50 were there the next time, and then 100. So we started doing that in as many towns as we could around the Southeast, and started making cassettes and CDs, EP size cassettes and CDs that we would sell at our shows and at some of the local record stores. And eventually the crowds got really big in some markets. And then we were selling as many of our EP in the record stores as REM and Red Hot Chili Peppers and U2. And so the labels started going, who's this local band selling like hotcakes, like all these other bands? And that's when they came to look at us, and there was a line out the door, and the rest is history. And the best way to read that story really is, it just got released this past spring, and it's Tim Summers' book. I believe it's called Only Want to Be With You. And he's the guy, he's the A&R rep from Atlantic that signed us back in '93. And he tells the story just eloquently. I mean, I read it when he put the book out. I was like, I couldn't have told it better myself. I lived it, and I was still hanging on every page. I mean, it's a really, really good book.
Awesome. I'm sure he appreciates the plug. Everybody check that out. Awesome. All right. Well, so then of course, Cracked Rear View comes, and that just is, it's to this day, it's still one of the top selling albums ever. Cause that was back when everyone was buying CDs. So man, that thing just caught on wildfire. What was the show? Was it the Letterman show? I think you did Let Her Cry. Was that when you got mainstream?
It was Hold My Hand. It was Hold My Hand on Letterman. And that's when he held the CD up and said, if you don't own this, something's wrong with you, something like that. And it blew up right after that. But it felt like a macro version of what had happened around the Southeast, and I think it just was this element of us being the right band at the right time with the right sound for whatever reason. And it blew up quick. And, it was wonderful for us because we never had to put on any pretense or move to LA or, try to be something we weren't. It was just the four of us making music the way we had done for the 5 years before that since college, and it just blew up.
Oh yeah.
So it felt really good. Felt genuine.
Awesome. Oh, you guys all sound, and just, you could tell the genuine and authentic, and it just came through the speakers and our screens, and yeah, we loved you. If you have a second, I'd love to do a deep dive on some of those famous hits, because I know you mentioned you'll be playing a couple of them at the Weinberg, so let's tease them a little bit. So I guess Hold My Hand would have been the first one. Do you remember where you were, in the studio putting that one together? Which of you wrote it?
That's actually a great segue for you to give to me here, because we haven't really mentioned Sony yet, who was our drummer, who joined in '89, our senior year of college. And the first song he brought in was Hold My Hand. And I remember sitting with him, and I came up with that little lick over top of it while he's playing it right away. And it was written as is. He already had all the verses and everything written as is.
This is Jim Sonfeld?
Yep.
Okay.
And that was the first thing he brought in, because the whole idea was, hey, we needed a drummer, but we wanted somebody who was going to be into doing original music. And he was in a cover band, but he was writing songs looking to play original music. So it was the perfect fit. And that was the first song he brought in, which is hilarious. And he also just put out a book. While we're plugging books,
plug away.
He just wrote his book recently too. And it's more about his story, although it does tell the Hootie story from his perspective. But I think it's more about his personal journey than the Hootie story.
Sure.
But anyway, I wanted to plug that too. So
plug it. If you think of any more, keep plugging.
No, we only have two right now.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, by the end of this interview, we'll have a third. But all right. All right. How about Let Her Cry? Because that to this day, I think is one of the greatest songs of the whole '90s era. I mean, it is. Was that based on anyone's experience of going to the back and watching her get high and all that?
Darius tells the story of he came home drunk one night, late night, and we used to go 5 Points, Columbia, hard back in those days. And you don't even go out till 11 p.m. So I'm sure we're talking like 4 a.m. kind of stuff here, 3 a.m. And he gets home, and he would always listen to Bonnie Raitt. And so, and then that night when he is out, he had heard She Talks to Angels for the first time.
Yes.
And he made our buddy. Yeah, and he made our buddy, the bartender, play it again and again. He's like, that song's amazing. So he got home. He's like, I want to write She Talks to Angels for Bonnie Raitt.
Wow.
And Let Her Cry is what came out.
Wow.
And I think that's a great story.
It is a great story.
He woke up the next morning, and that's what he had. Just this drunken version of trying to write his version of She Talks to Angels for Bonnie Raitt, if Bonnie Raitt were going to sing it, or maybe to her or something. He didn't really know. And then later he confessed that he probably switched the roles, like it's him in the song, but he says he's like acting like he's talking about the girl, but it's really him. Really him.
So and then the girl goes back and finds him high and says, "Oh, yeah, mama." Like when he says that, there's like
he's
such pain in his voice.
He's the one that's in pain, dude. He's the one that's in pain, not the girl. But he's singing about the girl as if she were in pain. Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, yeah, and then my first memory of playing that is at the brewery in Raleigh, North Carolina. We were at sound check, and Darius kept playing it because he had just written it and he couldn't stop playing it. And so we just started playing along with him, and we all, like, after the fourth time through, everybody had good parts, and and that was it. And then that also has a good story where we were opening for Dylan Fence at the Georgia Theater in Athens. And we had just done our set, and we played that song for the first time, Let Her Cry, live. And so we said that on stage, and we were like, we don't even have a name for it yet. And so then after our set, we're out there watching Dylan Fence, and this kid walks up and goes, "Hey, Bo," it's me and Darius, and standing there. He goes, "Hey, Bo, you know that song y'all played, but you didn't have a name? I think you just call it Let Her Cry, because the gonna cry, her, let her cry."
Wow, that's how the title came about.
I swear to God. So that's how we named the song. And I mean, I know you're gonna have to beep all that out, and I'm sorry. but
All right.
that is the true story, and I love that story.
Oh, thanks for sharing it. Thanks for sharing that. That's great. But no, I mean, it is an all-timer. I mean, just from the opening line, it's just visual storytelling. She sits alone by a lamppost, and then it's just great. It's great. All right. Well, if that's sort of on a somber, tragic note, then Only Want to Be With You is more of an upbeat, kind of a fun one. Any stories of how that came together? And
I started playing that lick. I think it's Dylan Fence influence, actually, because we were doing a lot of shows with them at the time, and Darius kind of noticed that, and he was like, "Yeah, that sounds like it could be a Dylan Fence song." And I'm like, "Sure enough," like it had that kind of just good energy, and so he wrote those lyrics about Dylan sitting on a fence, and he was singing to his girlfriend about like a Bob Dylan song, and then I also remember trying to play the rhythm of it like Pinball Wizard, like ding 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 ding. I remember when I was writing the lick, I was like, I want to get the energy of Pinball Wizard into this. So somehow, like that double time strum.
Wow.
Those are my early memories.
The Who and Bob Dylan combined to inspire that one.
And Dylan Fence. Yeah.
Yeah, Dylan Fence.
Yeah, totally. And then Darius didn't think it should be on Cracked Review. He thought it was like too cheesy or something. And so he was like trying to vote to get it off of Cracked Review. And then later it became one of the biggest singles. He came back to everybody's like, I was wrong. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Yeah, he still tells that story to this day too.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I guess, and the Dolphins Make Me Cry is obviously because, Darius is a huge Miami Dolphins fan, but what was it for you? Was it the Commanders? I'm still not used to that yet. I'm still not used to that yet, man.
I'm sorry, who?
You know what? They both stink just as much. These days, we've gone 30 years of a drought, man.
Yeah, the product hasn't changed either way, no matter what you call it.
And it won't until Dan Snyder changes and we get a new owner.
That probably seems to be the truth at this point.
So wait, hang on. Sorry, side tangent. Did you go to RFK a bunch growing up? The Joe Gibbs glory years?
I did. I went to RFK my whole life. Went to the last game at RFK against Dallas, where we won triumphantly to go to the playoffs or to knock them out of the playoffs or something. Yeah. And then
did you go get a piece of the field? You know how people were
ripping I got a piece of field. I don't have it anymore. I planted it in an old house or something, but I knocked out the back of my grandfather's season ticket seats.
Oh, nice.
And I have that, and it's in my man cave. I have a seat from RFK and like the panel from a seat at my grandfather's seat.
Good memories. Yeah, I used to go with my grandfather. There's just good memories, and the fact that it was like an exclusive, like you couldn't be as many people there. It was a smaller stadium, and the stand shook and stuff. And nothing like it.
They let people kick out the seats that day.
Yeah.
Everybody was doing it, so I went and did it, and like it's just cool to have. It's really cool to have.
So cool. All right. Well, I needed to know what team made you cry in that when you play that song. All right. Well, one more off of that album. We got to talk Time, because it's my father's favorite song of yours, guys. So why do you think that is, man, that if the other ones are like, universal relationship stuff, Time I feel like is more transcendent, dealing with like a more big concept of time itself. But how did you come up with it?
And that was sort of Darius and Sony wrote that together lyrically. And I think it was kind of Sony thinking big, like Hold My Hand, kind of anthemic. And then Darius personalized it a little more, and it comes off amazingly well. It's just beautiful. I love playing that song because it's powerful live. And we did a live video of it here in Charleston at the North Charleston Coliseum that, is the video for that track. Mm-hmm. And it's live. We didn't put the album version on the video. It's a live video, and so that's fun to check out if you like that song. It's got a lot of energy, obviously. It was done locally, which is cool.
Great song. Well, thank you for taking us into a deep dive. We won't go into all. I mean, Drowning. There were so many other good ones on.
Man, we can go all day, but then now we're writing my book. That's
exactly.
That's the third book.
Exactly. That's the third book we were talking about. Well, I'm sure you'll play all of those at the Weinberg. That'll bring it back around. I would
say this. Hey, everybody, visit me at Mark Bryan Music on Insta or Mark Bryan on Facebook, and it might be Mark Bryan Hootie on Facebook. And tell me what you want to hear, pipe in on my posts about the show and tell me what songs you want to hear. That'll help me put my set list together and play the songs that I know people want to hear. So, shout them out, folks.
Yes, see, it's interactive. Shout them out on social and on the website.
Absolutely.
Can I request at least one off of Fairweather Johnson, Old Man and Me, or Tuckerstown? I mean, it's underrated. Everyone always hold it up against Crack Review, but like it wasn't as big, but I thought it was pretty damn big, and I love those songs.
Thanks, man. Yeah, you definitely can put those up for a vote. I will tell you that I'm planning on doing Honey Screw from Fairweather Johnson already.
Okay.
So there you go. We're trying to go a little deep here.
Do you ever do I Go Blind off the Friends soundtrack? Does anyone ever request that?
Definitely doing that one.
Okay, so that's a must. That's a go-to.
Yeah, all the ones you named earlier and I Go Blind will all be on the list for sure.
Okay, great. Not to mention some of your favorite deep cuts, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before we go, I have to ask, do you have a favorite of the Darius Rucker, post Hootie? Well, I guess not post Hootie, the concurrently parallel career with Hootie, because you're still going. Any of the favorite country songs?
I have two favorites. One is It Won't Be Like This for Long.
Oh, so good.
I have physically balled listening to that song.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Well, because you got kids too.
Yes, and yeah. I knew his kids. I know his kids, and I, at the time, like I knew, that. Yeah. And we both had young kids at the time. I mean, yeah, that song was great. And then I also really like Comeback Song. Mm-hmm. I'm more a fan of the less country vibe. I'm more a rock guy. Like I sort of like the more crossover vibe.
Well, that one was a cool double meaning too, because it was a guy asking the girl to come back, but also it was like his comeback, into country. You know what I mean? It kind of worked on multiple levels.
It's also a really good song, and we did a lot of his songs live, because we were still doing the Charleston show every year while he was coming up through the country thing, and so we were playing whatever his hit was at the time in Charleston. I remember playing Comeback Song one year, and I was like, wow, I could play this song every night. It's really fun. So if it's a fun guitar song too,
Yeah. Even up here at Merriweather, I mean, it's kind of cool because you busted out a couple Darius solo country stuff.
We did all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? He's done great. Like, and people love those songs. I mean, that's what playing live is all about, creating those moments. So of course we're going to do that.
It's such a signature voice and such a signature sound. It wouldn't be the same without your guitar. And it's so cool that you're from our area. And thanks for taking time to join us on WTOP. I assume you probably listened to us growing up.
I did. WTOP was my CBS affiliate my entire childhood. So this is an honor to be speaking with you. Thanks for taking the time. And thanks for helping me promote the show at the Weinberg Center in Frederick, Maryland.
On Saturday, October 22nd, 8 p.m. Get your tickets now, weinbergcenter.org. It's Mark Bryan, famously of Hootie and the Blowfish, but this time we'll be playing with the Screaming Trojans for all you high school football fans. Hey, thanks so much. Yeah, whatever you want to plug.
This is my REM tribute band.
Voice of Harold. You got an REM tribute band too?
Yes.
Where is it up and down East Coast or across country?
We've only played 2 shows, and they've both been down here near, one in Wilmington, one in Charleston, but it's fun. And we're the 4 of us are doing it for fun on the side, but we get to play all the REM classics, which is
awesome.
So fun.
Are you going to bring them up to Voice of Harold up to Maryland, DC?
Yeah. We'll hopefully. Yeah. Well, that's why I'm telling everybody about it now. If you want a good REM tribute band up, hire us.
There you go.
It's really fun. It's just something really different and really cool. So
hey, bust out some Losing My Religion or something at the Weinberg, and then plant some seeds. I
might have to tease it a little. Yeah.
Thanks so much for doing this. You were really generous with your time. I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, talk soon. See you at the show.
All right, see you.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.